behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. Now we repeat. We get there together, never get there at all. Last time like you mean it. We get there together, never get there at all.
We have a welcome from a community member in just a moment, but I will let you know that my name is Reverend Janet Gollery McKithen, and I am the pastor of this church. I'm lucky to have been here for a few days, and I hope to be here for a few more. We are a multi-faith community, and which you'll hear more about from Trudy, Mama True. But I want to let you know that at some point in this community gathering, there will be a time of community sharing. And so you will be able to make a comment if you wish or ask a question. But also, I would like to let you know that your neighbor has that same opportunity. And so, so I'm not only saying that so you be mindful, but I'm also saying that so that you know that whatever it is they speak is very important and we want to hear it, and whatever you say is very important and we want to hear it. And yours is just as important, whatever they just said. You might not agree with them at all, but your voice is just as important. I also want to know that as you walked up the stairs, you're anointed, and now you are a member of the church in Ocean Park. And so wherever you go, you have that on your label. So just be careful what you do and what you say after you leave this place. So at this moment, I think Trudy is going to be welcoming you further.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Look at y'all. Man, take my glasses off so I can see everybody. Oh my God. What a great looking group we have here this morning. Hey, Gary Gasca. It's good to see you, brother. So I initially had planned on starting out with pouring libations. Well, we're not going to be able to do that this morning. But I can welcome you here. I'm Trudy, and I have to tell you, it's an honor for me to stand here this morning and welcome you. I've been asked to be a greeter a number of times by Janet, and every single time my heart skips because it just feels right to be able to say to our community, you're welcome here. So as we gather during the season of Juneteenth, because Juneteenth runs from 13th up to the 19th. In certain parts of our country, it's always celebrated on the 19th. But anywhere between the 13th and the 19th, you're good. So today we're going to honor that journey towards freedom and justice and liberation. And today we'll celebrate the resilience, the creativity, and contributions of Black people. And it's important that we uplift the spirits of our abolitionist siblings who have stood shoulder to shoulder in this walk with us towards freedom. We celebrate the fullness of Juneteenth with our relatives of all colors and hues throughout history, while recommitting ourselves to building a world where all people can live with dignity, safety, and belonging. First, you should know that we are a multi-faith community. So what does that mean? So it means that our place here is inspired by many traditions. We include Muslims, Jewish, Indigenous, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, humanist, atheist, Ifa, and other spiritual philosophies and cultural paths. And we also welcome those who are none of those, who are atheists, who just don't know, but they know that there is some type of warmth and love that occurs when they're in community with like-minded people. I think it's most important to say that we are guided by the principles of love, compassion, curiosity, and acceptance. So let me answer the question more succinctly. Are you welcomed here?
Yes.
Whether you dwell in abundance or are struggling to make ends meet, you're welcome here. Whether you arrive in a luxury car, on the bus, or in fact, on foot, carrying the burdens that no one else can see, you're welcome here. If you rose early for work and searching for work, are retired, are a student of life, or finding your way home after incarceration, you are welcomed here. Your worth is not measured by your paycheck, thank God, or your resume, your possessions, or your past mistakes. Your worth is inherent and sacred. We welcome the folks who want to think about things. Come on, help me out now. Whether you're, I wrote the word, I swear. Whether you want to contemplate, or whether or not you want to dance.
Yes.
If you want to think deeply about meditations, or if you're busy organizing, or if you're a poet or a pragmatist, we welcome those who find joy in a morning latte and those who are making a statement by saying no to Starbucks. We welcome those who nourish themselves with kale and those who occasionally find salvation in a jelly-filled donut. If you're single, partnered, married, divorced, widowed, heartbroken, deeply in love, or still trying to understand the mysteries of the human heart, you're welcomed here. We welcome people from every sexual orientation, every gender identity, and every expression of their authentic selves. We welcome those who know exactly who they are and those still engaged in the beautiful, courageous work of becoming. We welcome immigrants and refugees, dreamers, people and long-term residents. We welcome people living with physical challenges, people in recovery, the unhoused neighbors, caregivers, artists, teachers, activists, elders, and young people awakening to their own power and purpose. We do not ask whether your papers are in order, whether your politics align with ours, and that's a little, but okay. or whether your life story fits neatly into someone else's expectations, we care that you are here. We care that you matter. We care that your humanity is precious. If you come seeking spiritual grounding, beloved community, healing of old wounds, a companion in the struggle for justice, or simply a place to catch your breath, we pray you will find it here amongst us. May this be the sanctuary where truth can be spoken, where wounds can begin to heal, where friendships can flourish across our differences, and where love is not merely a sentiment, but a courageous force for transformation in the world. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Oh.
Thank you, Trudy. Y'all feel welcome yet? I think the one in the back, it doesn't feel welcome yet. So, all right, let's begin with our Thich Nhat Hanh chant. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now, 3 times. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. We're glad you're here.
My name is Louise, and I love singing here with you. And this morning, I'm going to sing a song. I want to lift up the name of Dr. Bernice Johnson Regan. She was the founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock. And this is a beautiful song she wrote called it's called Ella's Song. But our chorus goes, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest." And I'm inviting you to sing that with me when we get to that, because my purpose in life is to sing with you. That's all I want to do. There's a lot of things I don't want to do, like chores at home, but singing with you, my God. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's the chorus, and I'm going to sing it, and then I'm going to invite you to sing it with me. And you can sing it now, you might know it. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Yeah, that's it. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white men. White mothers' sons. Come on now. We who that. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. That which touches me most is that I had a chance to work with people, passing on to others that which was passed on to me. We who believe in freedom cannot rest, cannot rest. Oh, sing it now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young people who dare to run against the storm. Sing it. We who believe in freedom cannot rest, cannot rest. You're sounding really good now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be one in the number as we stand against tyranny. Oh, we who believe in freedom cannot rest, cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest, cannot rest. No, no, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Thank you.
Now, I have a wonderful opportunity to introduce our speaker, which is Dr. Terence Keel is an award-winning professor of human biology and society and African American studies at the University of California, Los Angeles. He has written widely about race, religion, life science, law, and democracy. Wow, all together. Keel is the founding director of the Lab for Biocritical Studies, an interdisciplinary space committed to studying the interactions of society and human biology. Keel also serves as the advisor for structural competency and innovation within the UCLA David Geffen School of Medicine. He is the author of The Coroner's Silence, Death Records, and the Hidden Victims of Police Violence, which I believe are back there, available for purchase after the service. Divine Variations, How Christian Thought Became Racial Science. Isn't that a cool title? Ooh. And co-editor of Critical Approaches to Science and Religion. Please welcome Dr. Terence Keel.
You got me. Okay, let's see. Is that better? All right, good morning. How is everyone? So I have to say that it's a very special honor for me to be here in this space. I say that because, I got my start before I was a scholar, before I was an activist, before I was an academic in the church. I was born and raised in a Black Pentecostal church in the south of Sacramento, and I always thought to myself that the sort of work that I would do would be within the confines of the church. But as life would have it, it sent me in different directions. But in many ways now we're turning back to this space. And this is a very beautiful space. And I feel in this time that we're in now, we need these spaces of collective gathering and recognition of one another and our humanity now more than ever. Okay. So it's an honor to speak with you as we celebrate Juneteenth, a day that marks our nation's second independence. On June 19, 1865, Union troops informed enslaved black residents of Galveston, Texas, that they were in fact free. Coming at the end of the Civil War, these orders meant that all black people in America were now citizens of the United States, entitled to the protections of the Constitution. You have to remember that Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation of 1863, 2 years before, did not apply to all of the states, and in fact was only applicable to the states in the South under the Confederacy that were in open rebellion. So this included states like Virginia and South Carolina and Mississippi. It was a wartime military strategy. But if you were in, let's say, Texas, which was a part of the Confederacy but not in rebellion, you were still an enslaved person. So this is why Juneteenth is the second day of freedom and emancipation. Okay. Now, on this day, there were, of course, lots of celebrations. Okay. A number of black folks to commemorate this important historical moment, which freed more than 4 million black Americans in this nation, at least according to the letter of the law. But black people did more than just celebrate. Many went in search of their loved ones who were taken by the institution of slavery, or who fled from plantations to the north or to the west before and during the violent upheaval of the Civil War. Black Americans kept the last names of their former slave owners so that they could find their mothers and their fathers and their brothers and their siblings. Keeping alive those names, reminders of being under the terror of another, was difficult, and it required a kind of spiritual resilience. Just think about that, carrying the name of someone who once owned you and your family. But you see, holding on to the last name of your former owner was an exercise of freedom and agency that kept black people clear about the society they were living in. The names of slave masters was a reminder of who and what institutions were responsible for the loss of their loved ones. And with names like Anderson and Bradley and Ellis and Jefferson and Washington, black folks were able to use newspapers and job listings and wedding registries and sometimes obituaries to reconnect with people whom they shared ties with on plantations in Savannah, Georgia, or Wilmington, North Carolina, or Montgomery, Alabama, or Richmond, Virginia, where my family was enslaved. For most black people, Juneteenth was not simply about celebration. No, Juneteenth marked the beginning of black people's search for kin lost to the violence of state-sanctioned terror, confinement, and unfreedom. Sometimes these efforts resulted in reunions and sometimes not, leaving relationships permanently severed and lost because of our nation's refusal to believe that black people are humans, worthy of dignity and power and rights. You see, black folks taught people in this nation about the power of naming and remembering, especially remembering the names of people lost to our most violent and inhumane institutions. They teach us this every day with the last names that they carry and use to gather their kinfolk. It is a lesson that remains important and pressing for the world that we've inherited. These are times where the civil rights of black folks are being eroded, where the voting acts in the South are being undone and gerrymandered to disenfranchise black folks. This is a time where women's rights to choose is being taken away from them. This is a moment where people who have lived in our nations, in our cities, in our counties for decades are being kidnapped openly on the streets by ICE agents and sent into detention centers without due process. These are times of unabated state terror, marked most clearly, I believe, by the lives lost to police violence. Every year, more Americans lose their lives to police violence than in Canada, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK combined. Let that settle just for a moment. These are people who are dying not in a war, not during a natural disaster. These are people dying in the custody of their own government, in jails, in the back of patrol cars, in holding cells just blocks away from their families. And yet most of us have never heard the names of these people lost to police violence. I want you to hold on to this idea of naming. It's important. The fact that we don't know these names is not an accident. It's actually engineered. It's intentional. In America, there is not a county or state or even federal institution that can give us the names of all the people who have lost their lives in police custody. In fact, it was not until the year 2000 when Congress passed the Death in Custody Reporting Act, which was the first time in American history that our government mandated that law enforcement report the names of the people that they kill. Just think about that for a moment. That means that we will never know the names of people who died in police custody in 1999, 1 year before the act was passed. That means we will never know the names of people dying in police custody in the 1960s at the height of the Civil Rights era, or the 1970s during the Black Power movement. That means we will never know the names of people lost to police custody in the 19-teens at the zenith of racial lynching and terror and racial segregation in this country. These are people who will forever be lost. These are names that will not be remembered. So the system that we have is one that shows us what we value. We count the things that we believe are important. And for our country, unfortunately, we haven't figured this out. Not soon enough. Too many people lost. But see, forgetting the names of people lost to police violence comes at the expense of our own sense of self and our own connection to others. You see, I've spent the last 6 years looking at over 1,000 autopsies of people who've died in police custody, people who were killed by agents of our government. Many of these people were never officially accounted. People like Stanley Wilson Jr., who was a former Stanford graduate, NFL player of the Detroit Lions, who suffered from mental illness, found himself on the streets of Los Angeles where he was confronted by Los Angeles sheriff. They put him into jail, and he was deteriorating. They didn't provide proper health care for him. He wasn't properly being monitored, and he was deteriorating to such an extent that the sheriffs were transporting him from the jail to a state hospital. And you know what happened during that transport? He died in the middle of that transport. But the sheriff said, well, we're not going to report his name because he wasn't in our custody. He was uncounted. And if not for his mother, Palani Lucas, Dr. Palani Lucas, who advocated and demanded that her son be counted, that his loss be remembered, we would not know his story. But you see, Stanley's story and so many others sit at the center of my book, The Coroner's Silence: Death Records and the Hidden Victims of Police Violence. And when I began reading the autopsies of people who were killed by police, it was 2020, and it was shortly after the murder of George Floyd. And at the time, I was meeting with families all throughout Los Angeles County who were teaching themselves how to evaluate these death records of their loved ones with medical dictionaries and textbooks and legal documents and forensic files. These people were teaching themselves how to hold government accountable, how to make sense of these records that were incomprehensible. So they asked questions about hematomas and lacerations and bone fractures on loved ones who supposedly died of natural causes, or heart conditions, or other conditions that normally didn't take people's lives until their late 60s. Families spoke to me about husbands and fathers denied access to medications for chronic conditions in jail, and then dying shortly afterwards and having that death classified as a natural death. it became clear to me that these families were tracing the effects of structural violence on the bodies of their loved ones and their community members. They were uncovering forms of hostility embedded in systems and laws and practices that produce and maintain the unjust treatment of vulnerable people. And when this violence appeared on the body of a black person or a Latino, they were uncovering structural racism. You see, what I learned from families here in Los Angeles, but working with families around the nation, had a profound impact on my own understanding of the relationship between society and our bodies. Each of the stories in this book, each of the stories that I encountered in writing this work, involved someone who might still be alive if not for the actions of police or jail staff or the indifference of lawmakers and state officials and our overwhelming need for safety in parts of America where poverty and undesirable people are never too far away. After the public execution of George Floyd, I went looking for the names of people that never gained media attention. What I discovered was horrifying. Like many of us, I believe that when someone died under the custody of law enforcement, there was a proper investigation done for this death, and that there were systems designed to make police accountable, but I was wrong. And the cost of that sort of comfortable ignorance is paid for in lives. Writing this book, I discovered that between 2000 and 2020, there were 32,104 people who died during arrests on the streets in this country. Not in jails, not in prisons, not in detention centers. This is a number just about people who died during arrests. To put this figure into context, this is more than twice the number of people who have been officially executed in our country's history going back to 1608. So just think about that. In a 20-year period, police in this country are killing more people than we have officially sentenced to execution. So what that tells me, what that tells us, is that dying during arrest, which, by the way, these are deaths, these are people who are constitutionally innocent. They had never been tried. They had never even made it to the jail. They had never had the opportunity to go in front of a judge to defend their innocence, right? So dying in custody is the new capital punishment. We are making decisions about the guilt or innocence of someone in real time using violence as a form of justice. But violence is not justice. It's something else. And tragically, our death investigation system buries the truth alongside with the bodies. You see, when someone dies in police custody, the law supposedly requires an investigation, though not necessarily an autopsy. And so I looked at this issue. You're looking at here a map of the 5 most lethal states where the most in-custody death happens. Unfortunately, California is on that map, so is Illinois, so is Texas, Florida, and Georgia. But when I looked at the laws that govern who is supposed to have an autopsy written if you die in police custody, the map tells a very different story. 43 states in this country do not require an autopsy or a medical investigation when someone dies in police custody. What they require is an investigation, but that doesn't need to involve a forensic expert or a medical expert or science itself. It very often involves law enforcement doing their own investigation into the people who they just ended their own lives. So this is a system that's broken. It's not a system that's designed to create accountability or transparency. It's a system designed to protect law enforcement, and I believe reproduce this rather thin idea that this system is working for all of us. It is not. It's not. So the results speak for themselves. Families who lost loved ones are handed records that describe in vague and detached language how a pre-existing heart condition or history of substance abuse was the real reason why they lost their loved one. Reports catalog injuries and then refuse to explain how a person alone in a jail cell could have had a broken arm, or could have had a laceration, or could have suffered in such violent terms. This is not incompetence, this is a choice. So the bodies of people who die in police custody, I believe, tell us something about our society. They tell us something about how we carry society in our bodies. We carry the physical evidence of our final hours, but we also carry the consequences of over-policed neighborhoods and underfunded mental health systems. We carry the weight of policy violence that creates poverty and inequality and illness. And people who die in custody, well, they carry the fear of being in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong country that uses police to arrest and punish people who fall through the cracks of our broken social safety net. Our death investigators are not choosing to capture the slow violence thinning the lives of everyday people. To do that, they would have to name the political and the economic and the legal conditions that make lethal encounters with police possible. So the violence of our law enforcement and the shortcomings of our death investigation system are not defects in state governance. No, they complete a process of neglect and indifference that have been steady features of American life. We've just simply grown used to living with people who are suffering from substance abuse issues or pre-existing health conditions or who are unhoused. We have simply grown grown comfortable and indifferent to a kind of suffering and neglect that's systemic across our cities. When I looked at those cases, the 32,104 people who died in police custody, there was something also very shocking that I discovered with my researchers in my lab. Many of us know that Black and Latino people are targeted by a criminal justice system. We have a justice system that is racist and discriminatory. But what most people don't know is when you look at the raw numbers, the largest population in terms of pure numbers dying at the hands of police are white Americans. I'm going to say that again. White Americans are the largest population dying at the hands of police. And it's important that we say this, that we name this, because too often police reform, abolition, holding government accountable is seen as a Black population problem or a Latino problem or a problem of identity politics and not a collective democratic problem. And until we see these numbers with clear eyes and we are able to name the issue, we will be siloed in these divisions believing that reform is something that other people have to do. No, we are all impacted by this system. So I want to transition, because I know I'm giving you a lot of heavy things, and we want to look for where's the hope, where is the possibility of change, and it's there, it's here. In fact, LA County is leading the country in terms of giving us a model of what abolition and justice reform can look like. So Justice LA, JLA, which is an organization, it's an abolitionist organization that advocates for alternatives to incarceration and investment into community. It's an organization that I belong to and Mama True belongs to, has fought in the county for the last 8 years to stop the expansion of jails, to stop the overfunding of these carceral spaces and return those resources back to community. And to put this in the context, what JLA has taught us is that jail diversion works. It costs each of us in this room $800 a day to incarcerate someone inside the jail. But the jail diversion programs are $100 a day. So it's 8 times more expensive for us to incarcerate people into spaces where people very often lose their lives and are not reformed. So this is a broken system. There are alternatives, and the alternatives work. We have to invest into these alternatives. But I also want to bring us back to the power of naming and the story of Stanley Wilson Jr. and his mother, Polani Lucas. I told you that the sheriff's office said that he was someone who could be uncounted. He wasn't in their custody. And this inspired in Dr. Polani Lucas a revolution. She said to herself, let's not rely on government. Let's create our own system. So she launched a national organization called the Uncounted. And the purpose of the Uncounted is to give communities around the country a resource where they can report themselves the names of loved ones and brothers and friends and colleagues who die in police custody, people who may not officially be counted. And the reason is that it's the importance of naming. When we can name the people that we lose, when we can name the systems that are broken, we know where to put our energy and where to put our effort for reform and change. Naming has power. It summons us to remember lives that have been lost, lives that have been broken, for systems that can become otherwise. Willful ignorance about this problem is not neutrality. It's mental and spiritual investment into the status quo, which too often becomes a death sentence for people who are constitutionally innocent, people never given the chance to return home from jail, or who were too poor to get the help they needed. We cannot afford to wait for someone else to solve the problems of our justice system. The silence of our investigators, the silence of police, tragically mirrors the silence of our own consent. This void must be filled with the truth. So as we celebrate Juneteenth, our nation's second independence, we must remember this. This day is about freedom, but it's also about the power of naming and the power of remembrance. Black Americans have given this nation a tradition of searching for the names of kin lost to state violence and systems that take away our freedom. It is a tradition that we need now more than ever. Thank you.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a feather in the air. Sometimes I feel like a feather in the air. Sometimes I feel like a feather in the air. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. A long way from home. A long way from home.
All right, this is the part I warned you about. We'll invite Dr. Keel to come back up. This is your opportunity to be able to make a comment or ask Dr. Keel a question.
We got hands up already.
Yep.
Mine is simple. I just want to know more about the diversion programs that work, and just How do they work?
So there's a program here in California called Care First. And what the Care First program does is it earmarks money in the county's budget to create beds, shelters, and medical delivery centers for people who would otherwise be thrown into jail. And what we know is that jails are not places where you can get better. We often say when we're rallying and organizing people, you can't get well in a cell. And the reason is that these are not institutions that are training people with compassion and respect. They instead are treating people with mental illness or who are simply just unhoused or dealing with substance abuse as if they're criminals. And so these diversion programs, first and foremost, put people in spaces where they can actually get the care that they need. Because so much of our jail population are people who shouldn't be there. They should be someplace else.
In looking at your book and the subtitle, it brings up a very, very significant thing in reference to the difference between black families and white families. When we talk about the talk, white families can say, well, they're talking about relationships between a man and a woman. That's also true in terms of black families, but it could also mean when a father and a grandfather take their son and have that kind of talk about the police. I say that to say, essentially, when we look at the 250-year anniversary, as a member of the book club, we read a book called The End of Policing. And in that book, I was able to find out, essentially, that what existed 150 years ago, 170 years ago, was not a police force, but a group of folks called slave catchers. I say that to say, essentially, at the beginning of this thing, the person that did the beating was the constable. And my question comes to, in this book, is there a, I guess you could call it a supplement that a child can understand it? Because part of the tragedy is our children don't recognize history, and they clearly don't know the relationship between the police and his historical benefit, but yet and still they're confronted with it pretty much daily. Many of your statistics probably include black children.
Absolutely.
In that respect. So I'm wondering just what, if anything, in the way of resources are available to address those children that are as affected by that as these adults.
Thank you so much for that question. I was just in San Francisco giving a public talk, and when I was done, this young couple brought their 11-year-old son named Remy up to me because Remy was really interested in what I had to say. And Remy could understand what I was telling him because he could see there's something wrong with this system. And I intentionally wrote this book so it's approachable, it's accessible. It's not loaded with academic jargon. I'm not hiding what I believe. I'm not hiding anything because I think this is only going to change if we can be informed together, right? Not a bunch of academics talking just to each other. It's this, conversations with everyday people about things that are impacting all of us. But the other thing you're saying, which I think is really important, which is I'd be very interested in doing a children's adaptation of this book. It's something that my literary agent is really interested in. My hope is that if you're at reading grade level 11, 12, 13, you can read this book. For the people who are younger, I think an adaptation could be possible because I do think you're right. This conversation starts really early for black families.
Going back to her question, I'm trying to get affordable housing on the initiative in Santa Monica, and it's not happening. Nobody's allowing for it. Where's the funding coming for building these alternative centers other than, I mean, is there funding for it? Can we take it from the police?
Great question.
Be good.
Great. Yes, we should. We can. The Care First budget, I don't have the exact figure in my mind, but it pales in comparison to what we're spending for policing and law enforcement. What I can tell you is that every year, at least since I've been working on this issue, the sheriffs and the police department has gone over their budget every year. And their budget is in the billions, with a B, not an M, with a B. So I think it's about putting pressure on our elected officials who, when we raise these questions, they always say, well, where are we going to find the money? Well, you just take it out of the sheriff's department, right? Right? Take it out of it, because every time their budget goes up, you know what happens? It never drops. They make the argument, oh, we have to maintain this funding level because our streets are getting worse. Well, they're getting worse because we're not investing in people. So it becomes this sort of circular system that's broken. So I would say the Care First program is really where we need to be putting more pressure on making that budget larger.
Dr. Keel, thank you for a tremendously informative talk and inspiring. Trudy's been telling me some things about your work, and I understand that one thing you've been investigating is autopsies and the fact that they often, the official autopsies seem to be slanted in such a way that they support the police version of what happened. And I wonder if that's something you could tell us some more about.
Sure, yeah. It's important to think about this structurally. This is what I mean. The medical examiner in Los Angeles does not run for office, meaning none of us in this room voted for the medical examiner. The medical examiner is appointed by the county board of supervisors. The medical examiner can serve in their role indefinitely. So it doesn't matter how bad their records are. If the county is fine with it, nothing's going to change. So at that level. The second layer is that you know who pays for financial settlements when families file lawsuits against the county when their loved ones die in police custody? We do, but it's the board of supervisors who write the check. The same board of supervisor that hires the medical examiner. So when you think about this structurally, the medical examiner is not here to write for us. They're the first line of defense against the people. They're protecting the county and they're protecting the sheriff from the people, because if a medical examiner wrote, let's say, a death record, let's say George Floyd, okay, let's say tragically a George Floyd happened in LA, and if they wrote an honest record, it would say Derek Chauvin and 5 other officers used force until they killed George Floyd. Clean, clear, obvious language. But that's not how they're written. They're written and they'll say things like, the suspect was taken into custody, force was applied, suspect became unresponsive. How did they become unresponsive? Who applied the force? For how long? What kind of force are we talking about? Oh, and when they added to George Floyd's autopsy, he was a carrier of sickle cell trait. He had a heart condition. There was fentanyl in his blood. All of these other things that distract us from what we all saw with our own eyes, right? If they can write a record like that all of this world saw with that viral video, imagine what the records say when there's no one to witness the death. Imagine what the records say when someone dies in a jail cell and the only witnesses are the police who are supposedly responsible for taking care of this person. Last point, something that shocked me and my researchers when we discovered this: law enforcement can be in the room during the autopsy. Law enforcement can be in the room during the death investigation. And so the same department that's responsible for ending someone's life can send a representative from that department to be in the room during the autopsy. And because our medical examiners don't run for office, and sometimes they're in these roles for 10, 15, 12 years, hey, Charlie, how you doing this morning? Got another body for me? What happened? Oh, we tried to arrest this fella. He resisted. He fell down. That's why there was that bruise right there. We tried the best that we could. Right? Ignoring the other things that are going on that body, right? So if we think about this structurally, the structure, the legal structure, It's written and designed to not work for us. And we have to see that system for what it is. Because right now, it's getting the benefit of the doubt. We think, oh, they're doctors. They take the Hippocratic oath of do no harm to others. They surely must be telling the truth. Right? But the records tell a different story.
Here's an idea for who could fund the trillionaire.
Sure.
Okay? You make that much money, maybe you give a little bit back.
You're right. We need to be taxing the 1% class for sure. Absolutely.
That's one thing. The other thing I want to say is thank you for emphasizing naming, because that is about giving dignity and honoring the experience of a person and honoring the experience as it is. And I think until our nation can do that, we're just going to keep ignoring.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rosa Parks, who probably tragically died. I remember going to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn as a kid, visiting my grandmother who lived there, and I remember there was the bus that Rosa Parks sat on, and I walked on the bus, and I was just emotional, just because of, what happened to Rosa Parks.
Thank you for that. Yeah. It's a sacred space.
I don't know if people know this story.
There we go.
But Rosa Parks was not the first young black woman who refused to go to the back of the bus. The first one was an unmarried mother who then lived in New York, died unsung, and Rosa Parks was a marketing person for the NAACP. And the reason I think we should know that is I think we should actually learn our actual history and then look at all the systems of systems that are, I'm not going to say there to repress us, they're there to be really fucked up and have to be understood by us all and dismantled one by one and one after the other until we get at the core that they're defending.
Yeah,
which
amen.
is classism and racism.
Absolutely, amen to that.
Thanks so much for speaking today, Doctor. I cannot wait to dive into this book. I am curious about the piece, what was it, 4 states, and
Yes.
only 4 states require autopsies?
Yes.
It was an interesting spread of states. What was it about those 4 states? Is there a thread that they have in common that we can learn from how they were able to pass such laws? Was it activism that led there, or something that was, about the bottom line? I'm just curious how those specific 4.
Yeah, Illinois, Nevada, South Carolina were some of those states that mandate, and Virginia, mandate autopsies. It's a complicated story. Yes, activism is a huge part of it. Let's say in Illinois, for example, the activism in Cook County, where Chicago is, was vital in pushing to mandate an autopsy when someone dies in police custody. The same is true for Virginia. There's been a lot of activism, particularly in Richmond, Virginia, where there's a large black population that have been under police violence. But you notice California is not one of those states, right? Neither is New York. So what that tells us is that it's not a red or blue issue. It's not about Democrats and Republicans, where Democrats were on one side and Republicans on the other. No. The political affiliation really doesn't matter. What matters are people like this in this room who see the problem and then put pressures on our lawmakers to change these laws. We don't have to continue operating under these systems. They can be abolished, they can be reformed, but it starts with us getting informed about what's broken and what's wrong. I will say, though, not to sour the milk a little bit, but unfortunately what we've discovered, even in the states where the autopsies are mandatory, they're still not doing them. There's still a large percentage of people who are not even having autopsies, and the letter of the law says that they should, right? And how do we stop that? Well, people have got to pay attention, and we've got to let government know we've got our eyes on this system. We're going to hold you accountable. We're not just going to let this pass. So there's work to do, for sure.
Right. I don't know. I can't see the people online. Oh, yeah, Abby. Go ahead, Abby. We'll come back to you, Abby. We're going to go to Joe and come back.
About 15 years ago, my son posted a video of the killing of Kelly Thomas, who was a schizophrenic white male whose father was a police officer. And then it sort of played out in public. So there's this intersection where it seems to be both about race, but about marginalization. And Kelly Thomas was a schizophrenic. And it seems like the mental health has become the marginalized group as well. And I'm wondering how much you believe this is a function of also homelessness and mental health, because you touched on both of those. And my son's a reporter around homelessness.
Yeah.
And so I'm just interested, how much of an intersection?
Thank you.
The intersection is huge. It's huge. When I think about those 1,000 cases that I read, somewhere around 50 to 60% of those cases were people who had supposedly mental illness. And so then you got to ask yourselves, well, how does someone with mental illness end up on the street to begin with and then end up in the hands of law enforcement? And when you ask that question, where the answer takes you is, well, where are social services in that county or that state? What happened to grants given to churches, nonprofits that can provide care to that population? Those grants are drying up. They're difficult to get access to. The funding stream isn't there. So the social safety net is breaking. And when the social safety net breaks, the people on the margins fall through the cracks. And our criminal justice system, which historically has been racist, has now evolved to see anyone who is unwell, unstable, unhoused as a potential threat. And then we use police rather than care to deal with that situation.
Yeah, and one of the really disappointing parts about all this for me is how poorly the county has managed the money that is supposed to be for homeless.
That's right.
And that's a real disgrace.
Yeah.
And now they're dismantling that LASA because they have misused money. So anyway, but thank you, and go UCLA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Abby, let's see if you can talk now.
Am I okay now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Oh, good. I think you're the person that can answer this question. One of my favorite commentators, John Hartman, believes that we all are, meaning our species, are biologically built to cooperate, that violence and discord and all that is something that's either because we were abused or we're just taught to and organized to be violent and not cooperative. You have anything to say about that issue?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think we have internalized a very terrible story about what it is to be human. And that story says something like, well, police are going to rough people up. If you're going to have a jail, a few people are going to die. I have been in public spaces where I've given this talk and someone says, 32,104 people, that's not a lot of people, is it? And to which I say, it could have been one person. I don't want to live in a city or a county or a nation where anyone dies in custody. Like, that's the way that we have to think. And to get there, we have to free ourselves from these narratives that say violence is just in us. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't see that right now. What I see are people that care, who aren't given the opportunity to change the direction of this system. That's where we need to go. And the stories we tell ourselves are really important. You're right. Cooperation is embedded into our species. That's how we reproduce, right? If it was violence all the way down, we wouldn't exist as a species, right?
That's right.
Right. And so, and many of us are descendants of people not that long ago who understood what co-op meant and mutual aid meant and self-reliance meant, where you lived in communities where you spoke to your neighbor and you worked with them in some capacity, right? I think we've gotten away from that as a people, and we have to return to that. And I think in that return, we find a deepening of our own humanity. I really do believe that.
Thank you. Here, Jean?
So you talked about different kinds of locations where people who are mentally ill or inappropriate for jails can be cared for. But what about the first responders who go out? I know that in Oregon, I mean, this was a long time ago, I heard about a team of social workers and other people who are trained to deal with bringing, conflict down with a mentally ill person. Do we have anything like that in LA or potential for that? Because we really need that. We need different people to confront these situations.
Great question. Thank you for asking it. It gives me a chance to talk about this. The county actually just recently approved the full funding of a first responder program where people suffering from mental illness or a health crisis, they can be the first people that arrive. So not EMTs or EMSs, although they have medical training. It's a separate program where these people can arrive on the scene, because that's what we need. Because right now what happens in the cases that I've seen, someone is at a holiday party, their loved one has PTSD, they get triggered, they're having a crisis, they call 911 and they say explicitly, please do not send police. Send EMT, CM, send anyone but the police. And you know who shows up? The police. Yeah. Right? So the way the laws are written, and until we change this, the laws give police the power to override whatever community first service we put into motion, because of the way the law is written. And so we've got to start sharing news of this new way of dealing with people in crisis where we don't have police show up.
And another problem is deaf people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. I think we have time for two more, over right here and then to Dave Morrison.
Okay. Greetings. Thanks for the presentation and thanks for holding this important forum. My name is Nyabingi Kuti with Protect Black Seniors. And to answer the question, with the funding, there is as you mentioned, the Care First community investment program that the county has that's very successful in providing funds for alternatives to incarceration. And that funding is coming from Measure A, which was passed about 5 years ago at the county level. And so I just wanted to bring that out, that there is a robust funding stream that has been providing alternatives to incarceration.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we just go, we're not going to have time for a second round, unfortunately. But we are having lunch together afterwards, so we can ask questions at that time.
For most of my life, in most states and cities, on the side of most squad cars is written, to protect and serve. And so we as humans, we're talking about, I agree with Abby, we are cooperators by nature with our group. And we are competitors by nature with those other groups that might be infringing on our resources, if you're to go back to our origins on the planet. And we've got to have the police be on the same side as the people on the street, but we constantly are having things like the playoff games and stuff where everybody is so obsessed with these ways of deciding contests where one person goes home in a victory march and the other goes home with his head hung in shame. And we have a society that worships competition, and where are the playoffs of cooperation?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Love that.
All right.
Great
right,
point.
exactly.
Great. Thank you.
So we want to thank Dr. Keel for his time and.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And so we have a few more things during our service, but after the service we do have food, and he will be selling his book at the back table. So we'll have more time with them if you didn't get a chance. I'm so sorry that a couple of people wanted more to talk. So anyway, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we'll have a moment of silence, and it'll be broken with a song.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no jail cell turn me around. Ooh, turn me around. Turn me walking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no police turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no police turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know I'm here to beg for money, and everybody probably wants to buy Dr. Keel's book. So I want to pass this around because you can give us money electronically and save your cash for later. And then I will pass the baskets around because it does support the church. It allows us to have programs like this and to keep this kind of unique community going. So anything you can do is really well appreciated. Thank you.
They want to take my, let's see. I forgot. They want to take my vote away. I'm here to tell them not today. I'm going to lift my voice, lift my feet till I'm buried in my grave. They want to take my vote away. I'm here to tell them not today. I'm going to lift my voice, lift my feet till I'm buried in my grave. They want to try that. They want to take my vote away. I'm here to tell them not today. I'm going to lift my voice, lift my feet till I'm buried in my grave. They want to take my vote away. I'm here to tell them not today. I'm going to lift my voice, lift my feet till I'm buried in my... Let's try this one more time. They want to take my vote away. I'm here to tell what? Not today. I'm going to lift my voice, lift my feet till I'm buried in my grave. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Every Sunday that somebody signs up, we have a thing called bread. And somebody signs up and they talk for a few, just like 2 or 3 minutes, and we pass around bread. So I see the bread. I'm not sure who's... You! It's Craig! Whoa!
So when I signed up to do bread, I was thinking about myself, of course, right? And I spent the last week at the National Conference of the American Institute of Architects. Most of you know I'm an architect, so I went to it. I really enjoy it. And so I thought, I'm coming back, I'll talk about it. And then I realized the church is celebrating Juneteenth, and what can I do about it? So I looked up, as the white guy, like, what can an ally do? And part of it, for all of us, and we learned some things this morning as well, is education and learning about things. And so I wanted to share a couple of things. I won't take too long. But one of the sort of interesting things about my profession is so it's very white. It is, that's the nature of it. It's changing, but while within the profession, less than 2% of licensed architects are black. You know, it's, what, 13% of the population, 60% of the architects are white. So there are things that are changing, and I think a couple of things, and I looked them up. I won't take too much time, but there's an interesting legacy in Los Angeles. I don't know how many of you know who Paul Williams is. Good. Good. So he was the first black architect licensed in New York and in California. He did the theme building at LAX. He did a lot of other things. It's a really interesting story. And it wasn't until like 20 years after he passed away that the National Organization of Architects sort of recognized that contribution. It takes time. But there are other people. There's a woman, Norma Sklaric, who she was one of the first women licensed. And this is one of the things of the profession I'm in. There's that you think about the famous people like Frank Lloyd Wright or Frank Gehry, or not everybody Frank, but so she worked in teams on very interesting things, like in LA for a firm Gruen, but on, you know, the Blue Whale in West Hollywood that was done in the 70s. And so it was kind of good to see that sort of recognition of people that work within what is a collaborative profession, and it sort of continues. And when I was at the conference, I bought a book, and I have a friend who was in this, a professional colleague, and I was trying to understand it because it is letters to people by black women architects. So kind of a intersectional marginalization, right? Both black and women. And this even goes to what we were talking about this morning of people's stories and real people with real names and what they do and how they got to where they are as examples. And while this says 1,000 letters, that number, the way the demographics are going, there's only something like 600 licensed black women architects in the country. Like the demographics, it'll take till 2040. So you know, that sort of outreach and things, and the telling of stories. And one thing I realized, and it's a little thing, a couple of women in our firm wrote a book called Deja Dynamo. I didn't think to bring it because it just wasn't in my mind, but it is a young black woman, and it's for sale. You can buy it. But it, again, is to help try to tell the story of what design and that kind of work is like for people who maybe don't know what it's like. So those numbers aren't good, but there's a little bit of, I think, optimism that some of that is. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And I guess everybody got bread. So, okay, we're done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I just have we have a few announcements, and then we'll get in our closing circle. We're going to get in our closing circle now.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can, and I know you can. Touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Sorry. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Do the people behind want to join or no? Everybody's welcome. Okay. Thank you for this oblong. This is our closing oblong.
The closing oblong.
keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to say together, carry on. 1, 2, 3.
Carry